And we are live with another episode of the Andor Aftershow. This time talking about episode 12. It is the season finale of Andor. It came out, 22 hours ago? And we're here at 10 o'clock Pacific time on Wednesday to talk about episode 12, the season 1 finale of Andor. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. This is the show brought to you by the Keeg, where, it's pretty much self-explanatory. We watched Andor. We're here to talk about it. I got my co-host, Sara Zitney, a.k.a. Miss Marauder. Sarah, how you doing?
Doing phenomenal.
Are you, actually?
Yeah. I went to Universal Studios today with Evie.
That's cool.
And then went on a weird search. Do you know those fidget toys that look like slugs?
Is that the one that turns in...
It kind of like goes like this, and it makes like a really satisfying clicking sound.
Is that the one that curls into itself? So it'd be like a donut if a donut's a cylinder?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I would show you one, but she has them in her bed with her.
Okay.
Someone was selling them at a toy stand in Universal Studios for $15. So she made a deal with me that she was going to leave Universal early so we could stop at Walmart on the way home to buy one, because I was like, I'm pretty sure they're less than $5 at Walmart. And they were $3. So
I don't know what the kids are into nowadays.
PSA, don't buy a toy off of a kiosk at City Walk at Universal Studios.
I mean, it'd probably be really expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know whether our guest has been to Universal Studios, but that is a question for our guest. We have Jen Markham herself. Jen Markham.
Hey, I have been to Universal Studios Hollywood many, many, many times. I've actually never been to Florida, though.
So. Oh, that's good. Because I also feel it's weird when Florida people are like, yeah, I've been to Universal Studios Orlando. And I'm like, boo.
Different.
Boo.
If it doesn't have the studio tour, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
I just don't have a concept of the Florida park at all. Like like people work there.
Yeah.
There's an office tower. I mean, so,
do they film there?
People love it. The Harry Potter thing. I have not been there since the Harry Potter stuff has been built. So it has been a second, but that
I'm
was dying to go again.
2010, I think.
Harry Potter hasn't been out since 2010? The park?
Yeah.
Wizarding World?
Has it? I have not been to Universal Studios. Last time I was at Universal Studios, they had the Back to the Future ride.
It opened in Hollywood in 2016.
Oh.
Yeah. But okay. I think it was 2010, 2011. Because I went the first year it was open there. And it was probably 2010, 2011.
Oh, in Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I've only been to Islands of Adventure in Florida. So that's me. But enough talking about Florida. Let's talk about a galaxy far, far away. Jen, it's so good to have you on this show. Even though I'm blurry, my webcam isn't focusing on me. But let's focus on you.
Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. You are a huge Star Wars fan, Star Wars content creator. I love your work. I love everything that you do. That's it. That's the show.
Let's all just talk about how much we love Jen
now. So that's it. And scene.
Now I'm in focus. How have you been liking Andor?
Been loving
Other than episode 12. Let's rewind and be like up to episode 11. How have you been liking it?
I've just been loving it, really loving it, and surprised that this is what the show they made. You know, there's been no eye on selling toys. It's not for kids. It's it's a novel-paced storytelling. They're taking their time. We're getting to know the characters, and in a way that no Disney Plus show, Star Wars or otherwise, has done. I love Star Wars, like you said, we all do. I am a little more interested in I'm less interested in space wizards. I love them, but I like the other stuff a little better. The underworld, the bounty hunters, regular people.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to see that. We've gotten to see so much about that whole universe that we've never gotten to see, at least in live action before. I've been really impressed, really loving it. Extremely sad that this season's now over. I remember when it started, it's like 12 episodes. Oh my goodness, we're going to go right up to Christmas. And all of a sudden it's like Thanksgiving and it's over. I'm like, dang, yo.
Yeah.
So
I have a very interesting question for you. Why do you think that you like Star Wars that way? Because I feel like there's two branches of Star Wars, right? There's the people who want lightsabers and space wizards and the Force and Yoda in everything, which is great. I love Star Wars for that. That's great. But then there is the other, like ironically, the more down to earth stories.
Well, I think that's what makes it a little more real, though. And I think maybe in different aspects of your life. I mean, listen, if I could use the Force and could swing a lightsaber, I would in a second, you know, in terms of being relatable. But when I find that more interesting. And I find that interesting with any sort of fandom world. Like, I want to see what the regular people are doing. What are we fighting for? You know, that fascinates me. And then just the, you know, heroes doing regular things or being with regular people. I find that interesting right at this time of my life. I think also, I don't know, the design, the costumes, I like that a little bit better. I mean, all the space wizards wear the same thing. Yeah. So I don't know. It's more my aesthetic. It's just kind of fascinates me. I think we've seen the least of it because the live action, especially the movies, have been focused so much on this one family. I've seen it. I mean, it's great. And let's look at other families. Let's look at other people and see what they're doing. It just is at this point in the storytelling. And that's interesting. It's more interesting to me.
I agree. So. I think especially after the sequel trilogy, where they pointed us towards Rey is a nobody and then went, Rey is a Palpatine. Like, who is Rey? She must be someone special from a special family because being a hero is genetic. And, like, then it's like, no, she's a nobody, but she can still be a hero. And then she's she's a Palpatine, and then she could be a hero. And I feel like the sequel trilogy hinges on, like, yeah, it's all just a bloodline. You can only be a hero if you're a Skywalker or a Palpatine or whatever.
And that's not a great message to me. And I know everyone has a very strong opinion about this, but I'm big team Rey nobody. Like, that was the message. And I think that's what Rian Johnson was going for, especially with the very last scene in that movie, like with a little boy from nowhere could just zip up a broom like it was nothing. Yeah. Because he happened to have this thing. That's a much bigger message that it's really accessible to anybody who want, you know. So
it's definitely.
But listen, some people love it. Some people love the Game of Thrones and Harry Potter. It's who your parents are, and they wouldn't be making these stories if some people didn't love that. So I don't happen to be one of them. I like to see, you know, possibilities open to everybody. But like I said, they won't be writing them if people didn't enjoy them. So
this show is the antithesis of the sequels.
Yes, exactly.
In both good and bad. Like, if you like awesome lightsaber fight scenes, you're not going to get in this show. So like, it's not a judgment. Like, I'm not passing judgment on it, but I'm just saying, like, it is literally the exact opposite of the sequels.
It's a spy thriller. It's a drama. It's not that epic. It's really kind of about small places and small things happening. Yeah.
I'm thinking about this episode 12, and like, I get worked up. Sarah takes copious notes.
I do. I have 2 pages.
The symbolism.
I'm sorry, I have 3 pages today.
Wow.
But that's because I literally wrote down everything that Barrasso said, the Marva message, and then I wrote down like 70% of what Marva said.
Oh man,
like, these are all good.
I think the point of Andor, for both good and bad, because we see it a lot, and especially even after that mid-credit scene, it's that everybody working together can make something bigger, right? But that works in a bad way too, as we see in that end credit scene, right?
I feel like, what do I feel like?
I don't know. What do you feel like? You feel like a rebel? You're wearing a rebel shirt.
I know. So I bought this from Heroes and Villains. It's like embroidered, and then the back has like red 5 on it.
Oh
nice.
my gosh,
And I
that's
was like,
fabulous.
I don't know if the orange is gonna look good on me. So then I also bought the Jedi Knight one because that one was dark blue. It was really just an excuse to buy 2 of them.
But the orange is like the X-Wing jumpsuit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I just wanted it just because I bought it for this. I got an Andor.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Are we all showing off our stuff? We all got like something happening. We all dressed up.
For anyone out there watching the live stream, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. Pretty much anything /The Keeg Show at The Keeg Show. But if you're listening to the podcast after the fact, it's wherever you get your podcast from. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and now Stitcher. Because I heard Stitcher was a thing, and so I was like, let's put this up on Stitcher too.
Nice, that's what I use. So,
do you use Stitcher?
Yeah.
How come it took me this long to like to?
I don't know,
realize
but there's 100 of them.
There is a lot.
So
there's like Podbean, but I don't know what Podbean is. You know, but either way, we're on it now. We're on Stitcher.
So I think the thought that I had was it was very difficult. I think that 2 things can be true at once because as you guys were talking about being the antithesis to the sequels, I was like, oh, I like the sequels though.
I mean, I like the sequels.
But they do their own thing. Yeah. I think
thematically, not quality wise. Yeah.
And I feel like it almost connects to last week when we saw the space fight, and I was like, oh right, space fights. Like the show was so good, I completely forgot that like space fights were a thing. Like, how good does a show have to be to make you forget space fights?
Right.
Like the core of Star Wars is X-Wing fights, you know, and I forgot until it happened last week that I was like, oh right, we're at space fights, you know, and part of it I think is bringing it down to that level. And I we'll talk about the stinger, the end credit scene for a minute, where it's like, are they building parts of the Death Star? Does it really matter if they're building parts of the Death Star? You know, they're building something, you know, and now it's okay. They were building parts of the Death Star. Of course, it cuts me very deep to know that Melshi and Cassian helped build the thing that killed them.
Yeah.
Rough. But also that shot was terrifying. And I think that's what this has done is like, you know, the Empire is like scary bad guys, but you know, we don't get into how evil they are. And I feel like this show really kind of showcases like the realistic fascism and how scary it is. And because they spent this whole season doing that, when the Death Star shows up at the end, it's so scary.
Yeah.
Like that's a WMD. Like it's so scary. It's like, this is terrifying. I didn't need it, but because it was there, I was like, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the Empire has never been scarier, never been more evil. We've never seen this. I mean, the way they tortured Bix, I mean, using the cries of children they've killed before and repurpose that as a torture device. I mean, that's sick.
Yeah.
And it's almost funny, like when you see the Death Star, and I guess we're jumping right to this one. I actually didn't love seeing that. I got to be honest. I'm like, oh, I've seen it. This whole show is about stuff I'd never seen. And it ends with something I've seen a million times. I had that visceral reaction. I'm like, no. I want to see the small things, the little spy stuff happening, the small battles that lead to the big battle.
Yeah.
But
would you rather have seen, Jen, that they were creating parts for like a toilet that was on the Death Star, and then like the Imperial officer gets up, washes their hands, walks to the control room of the Death Star, and then you see, without that toilet, the Death Star would be inoperable.
I don't know. I don't need the Death Star at all.
Okay.
I'm glad you finally mentioned it, because the only thing I think Andor has been missing is toilet humor. That's what Star Wars has been missing forever.
Yeah.
I definitely agree, Jen. I don't think I was okay with it. I was not expecting it so much that I know Gemma as well, who our Rogue One obsessed friend. I was texting her. She was texting me about the episode. And her first text is always like, Tony Gilroy, turn on your location. I just want to talk. Because she's always like violently sobbing, and I love her very much. And she was texting me as the credits were rolling, And then I was like, oh, there's a mid-credit scene. She's like, oh, have you not seen that yet? I was like, oh no, I wasn't. I was fully like done watching it. It just didn't seem like a thing that was going to happen in the show.
Yeah.
I almost feel like Tony Hiller was like, fine, I'll put it in at the end. Like,
it looks so different because, as to your point, Sarah, that we hadn't seen a lot of space battle except for episode 11. And I think they're making the point that these small things lead to this enormous thing.
Yes.
But I already knew that.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen Star Wars. We all have. I felt like it was a little bit, because the show has not been hitting me over the head with anything. It's just been doing its thing and making metaphors and the whole deal. So then to have something so right on your head, I'm like, oh okay, I got it. All right.
I think if it was just them, if it was just like the part before they zoomed out, where it's like they're building a thing in space and you obviously know it's the Death Star, but then when they zoomed out and you saw the whole Death Star, I feel like that kind of hit you over the head with it.
Maybe I'm dumb, but before they showed the Death Star and they just showed the robots on the thing piecing it together, and I just saw pieces, I thought to myself, is this just another random weapon that will show up in season 2? Before it showed, you know what I mean? I was like, because it was kind of disconnected. So I was like, is it going to be like a satellite of what we would like Earth, modern day Earth would think of a satellite that is going to be a problem in season 2?
I was like, oh, they're building the Death Star. And then it zoomed out and I was like, oh, it's done. It's almost done.
It's almost done.
Like,
Well, I think timeline wise, it would make sense. It would be this far into completion. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I knew they were building something Imperial, obviously, by those triangles, right? Or no, what were they? Were they hexagons that they were building? Or triangles?
Yeah, what's the one with 6? That's what they were, weren't they?
Pentagon is
Hexagon,
5.
yeah.
I
have to stop though, because this is what actually a little frustrates me a little bit, is that we're all talking about that scene.
yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there was 12 episodes of not that, and this is all we're talking. Oh, we're not. I mean, obviously the show just started, but like,
we're talking about how we don't want to talk about it.
Listen, people, I saw on all social media end credits scene. I wasn't spoiled. I watched the end credits, so I knew something was coming.
Yeah.
I
I agree. It wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I love the don't get
people
spoiled.
are excited. Like, I don't want to yuck on anyone's yum, but that's just, it just led into what we were talking about before, but what I really liked about the show and how different it was and how we were seeing different stuff and new places and new ideas in Star Wars. Then to hit the biggest thing in Star Wars, I was like, no, but that's just me.
Then let me ask you, Jen, what was the greatest moment? Greatest
in the whole show
moment in this episode?
I mean, it's not an up episode, right? Like, it's our good guys get away and everybody lives except for Marva, obviously, but she was already gone.
Yeah.
Right? I thought someone's gonna go. Someone's not gonna make it to season 2. And everyone does.
I thought Bix was dying 100%.
I thought B, I thought maybe Karn. At some point, I thought Deidre. I'm like, are we going to get rid of her? And nobody. Everybody made it.
I wanted Cyril to die. I wanted.
I don't like those two. That was definitely my least favorite part. He stalked her. That is not healthy. That is bad. I don't even get what it is. I don't want to get what it is.
He's gonna die, right? She's gonna kill him, right?
I thought she would just kill him. Once she seemed like the kind of person that once he saved her, she was like, oh, blam. You know, I saw that coming. I'm like, just shoot him. And I suppose I should thank you. I'm like, are you kidding?
I have not felt a visceral disgust at the possibility of a kiss in so long. I was like, if these two people kiss right now, I'm turning my TV off. Like, I will be so, like, I was like,
so
the
uncomfortable.
entire time it was like I was like crawling out of my skin. I was like, there is a thing happening here. I'm uncomfortable with it. They're too close to each other. I was just so uncomfortable.
Perfectly said. Exactly the same.
I hated it.
This does take my number one spot for most like not wanted kiss, but I do have a very close second in Star Wars.
Oh,
Oh, it's so divisive. I do too, but
Wait, does Sarah know?
Wait, who did you not want to kiss in Star Wars?
Kylo and
No one ever
Rey.
wanted
and
to kiss
Rey.
in Star Wars.
Thank you,
Kylo
Jen.
and Rey.
Thank you.
I to this day have still not seen it. I turn away every time.
I don't like the way I wanted them to kiss, but not like that. Not like that. I wouldn't call myself a Reylo shipper. I do have a Kylo Ren tattoo, but I got it in 2016 after the first movie because I thought his helmet looked dope. And it was like a Star Wars flash day.
Somebody asked me before Rise of Skywalker what I wanted most out of the movie. And I said, I don't care what happens, Finn and Rey have to end up together. I did not get that at all.
No. But I mean, he did yell Rey like for the whole movie. Almost no other lines.
Yeah. But yes, disgusting. Cyril and
awful.
Daedra, disgusting.
Disgusting.
Not as people.
And it's
the actors and actresses are amazing.
Doing an amazing job.
The characters are also amazing in a bad way.
Disgusting way, right?
Yeah. But still.
And it's funny too what you say about like you notice in movies because of the framing, everyone is standing much closer together in every scene in every movie ever than you would in real life because they're being framed for a motion picture or a television show. But it's so funny when they did it. I'm like, no, get out, just shoot him. Oh,
yeah.
I don't get it. I don't actually get what they're doing. What is that? What am I supposed to be like? What are they doing?
The only way I can see it working out strategically for the writing is a very similar thing what they did, and we'll go to Mon Mothma. I want Daedra setting up Cyril for a fall. That's the only way I can see this making sense. Like, the guy is obviously stalking her. She does not want it. He saves her life.
I just thought she was not cooler, like cooler under pressure than that. I was surprised to see her reaction because Cyril was the one that so I guess it's kind of like showing a little bit, I don't know, like making them similar in a way because he was the one that was all fancy pants and then he got in and then once it started to go down, he started freaking out and like didn't have the, on ground experience, but she seemed like, but I guess she is just an office worker. Technically.
Well, in episode 3, Cyril freezes up, right? So I guess this is showing his growth. But it's not love, it's obsession. It's weird and gross.
I haven't even seen for sure that it is a love romantic thing. I remember the first time when he's stalking her, I rewatched those scenes not happily. I'm like, okay, what is going on here? What does he want? And I still can't, it's still not clear. And that's cool actually. Like keep me guessing, keep me surprised as someone who's creating a narrative. I like it. But even this one, I'm like, I still don't get it. And Sarah, I completely agree. Like I had this sense of her that she would be this stone cold, just action person once it came down. But you make a good point. Like if she is a CIA analyst, and think of it that way, that she has always been behind a desk, she doesn't have those field skills or isn't as sharp. But it was strange to me. She was like kind of flustered and whimpering a little bit. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I feel like getting trampled would probably do that to you.
Not just getting trampled. She was getting almost curb stomped by a crowd or on purpose. Right. They ganged up on her, right?
Oh, that's right. And then the editing was stranger. Then suddenly he was pulled away. Suddenly Palpatine returned and
suddenly Deidre survived.
Right.
I get what you're saying about the scene. Like if, she's an office worker, right? And she's being put in the field, things are going to be different. I saw it as when Nazis act super tough in real life and then they get socked in the jaw and they back down real quick and they cry to themselves. It's like a real life thing. That's what I think.
I think that this show has done an amazing job because like begrudging affection we felt for Deidre in the first few episodes when it was like a woman in a male dominated space that is actually correct, but has to prove it. Like that lingering, like good for her is still playing into this.
Yes.
Where it's like she is the kind of, whimpering, got hit in the face. And, that's who she is. She's a fascist, but we have that lingering, like, good job. She's working up the ladder because she's right. I think that little bit is still inside of us. And that's why we expected her to behave in like a more like courageous way. But that's a very good comp for sure.
That's such a good point, Sarah. What am I doing on the show? Like, she's the one you're rooting for in that room. You're still rooting for her. And even when it was her and Karn, like, just shoot Karn because I want to see I want to see what she does. I don't want her to go. I want Karn to go.
Yeah, I think it's a tournament bracket, like a bracket tournament. Like you have the rebels on one side, the good guys, and then you have the bad guys on the other, and you want the best teams on each side to like work their way up. So when they finally go up against each other, you know who you want to win. You want the rebels to win against the Empire, right? But like on that side, it's like you see her rising up and you're like, that's the team I want in the Eastern bracket, right?
Right. That's who you want in the ending. And I was wondering if that's what that was leading up to. Were we going to get an actual Cassian versus Miro showdown? And I'm glad they didn't do that. But with the twists and turns of he's upstairs and they're looking for him, and then someone's upstairs and there's a thing like, where are we going towards? And then when Cassian didn't go with the ship, I'm like, where is he going? Is this where they're going to come together? And that wasn't it at all.
It was Luthen, right?
Yeah,
that's what the whole thing
Luthen,
was. He left to save Bix and go to Luthen, right?
He got all his friends on the ship, and I'm like, and then you're free to take off, and he's like, I'm not going. I'm like, why go? Like, what do you have left to do? What are you doing? What's on your list, man? And it was Luthen. He knows where Luthen parks the ship because he's been there before.
Yeah.
So.
And that leads me to one of my favorite moments in this episode. I have a top 3. I don't have a favorite. But Luthen's smile, the smile that he did when Cassian's like, kill me or take me in. And then he like genuinely smiles at him was one of the best moments, I think, of the entire season for me. Because it's like Cassian. So I think I might be stealing this from something that I read earlier. So if I am, I apologize. But this idea that it's all about Cassian's, like, we know by the time he gets to Rogue One, he's like a true believer rebel, right? And he's not that at the beginning. On Aldhani, it's I'm gonna, do this job and get out. I want to win and get out. So he's clearly been listening to Nemec. He went through that thing in Narkina 5. I think he's already there. So this episode is the people of Ferrix getting radicalized by Marva being the best, but Cassian's already there. So he is, and I think that's Luthen seeing that. Luthen is seeing, oh, he's not a threat to me. He's joining the Rebel Alliance right now. This is what he's doing. By coming in and saying, kill me or take me in, he's like, this is my guy now.
Also,
and that smile of realizing that was like perfect.
Also, that was Luthen's fear, right? That Andor would get interrogated and give things up. But like, this is Andor being like, I'll die. That's cool.
Yeah.
I need a purpose. And I think that like the real rebels, Nemec, can't be interrogated. You know what I mean? I don't think Nemec would be interrogated. Like, and give up information about the rebels, right?
Well, it doesn't have any, right?
What's up? Well, yeah,
really.
He didn't have it much information.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, like, the people who are diehard about the cause, like, they will die, literally die for the cause.
Right.
I don't think can get interrogated.
Right. It just wouldn't work.
Because they'll just be like,
right.
okay.
They wouldn't be broken is what you're saying. And quite frankly, in the show, we haven't seen a lot of diehard rebels. It's been more people on the fence. And then even Luthen's kind of the operative. And I know we're kind of changing subject, but just think about Luthen. What I've really liked about him is, in a lot of these stories, there's one kind of sort of omnipotent wizard person calling the shots, and they're always right. and they're putting all the chess pieces on the board and they know what they're doing. And Luthen has shown that he doesn't always know what he's doing. He kind of screwed up in the episode 11, like blasting out of there. Like he gave up his ship, and everyone knows what, like he made this big giant exit. He went to Saw and said he wasn't sure about what to do about Krieger.
Yeah.
He's not this all-knowing guy. He's that person doing his best like everybody. I find that's really interesting. And we've seen him change his plan, as we're talking about now, even with Cassian. Like the whole reason everyone and the whole story was on this planet at this time was to get rid of this guy for different reasons.
And when he was talking to Vel about it, it was like, oh, this is perfect that the Imperials are here because they're going to find Cassian and then we can kill him. Like no qualms about it. And then I think Marva's speech got to him because there's multiple shots of him listening to Marva talk. And I just think being able to give your own eulogy, super cool. Very good, very cool. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do a hologram of myself at my
I mean,
funeral.
people do videos, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but yeah,
I've never seen that happen. But
I've seen an Endgame, Tony Stark. I saw that. So
Yeah.
you know,
I do want to talk about Luthen, but before I do, I wanna shout out Karen's Nerdy Creations on Twitch. First time chatter, Karen says Jen burning the midnight oil. And then just like some replies to kind of what we were saying. And then Mr. Plow out there saying Cinta is diehard. Cinta's definitely a diehard rebel. Like
that's true. That's true. That's a good point.
Vel showed up with the honey, I'm home, and Cinta's like, I'm working.
Yeah, Vel's distracted.
Vel
like,
is,
girl,
get out of here,
Vel.
I want them to be in like actual love, but Cinta, I get it. Cinta cares about the rebellion first, and we take what's left. But like, I want them to be in love, like love. You know.
Anyway, hi Karen. Thank you for coming by. Karen's good people. So you met Karen. She came to my meetup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Karen and Derek. So I'm so thrilled you're here. I don't have coffee or anything.
Mr. Plow says Lonnie's standing next to Krieger. Lonnie's not standing next to Krieger. He's there when the Anto Krieger stuff is going down. Yeah, elsewhere.
And they say no prisoners, and he's like, not today.
Yeah.
And of course, Deidre's mad about that. Yeah. I like that the Krieger stuff just kind of was small potatoes. It was like, they walked right into the trap.
Yeah, supposedly,
which is exactly what Luthen wanted.
The image that they used for Krieger when they asked Bix, "Is this Axis or is this the guy you were talking to?" Is not even an actor. It's like the special effects guy, but they made him look different or something, just to be like that. Like he's not even going to be a character we see. It's just some guy. Because we never saw the huge death of how many people. How many?
30 men plus Krieger. Plus Krieger.
Yeah.
Kept saying.
We don't even see it. It happens off screen, and we're just like, it's ruthless and cruel in a way, and it is very similar to CIA drone strikes, where it's just like
that's what that room felt like a lot. You know, like going to get Bin Laden or something.
Yeah.
Obviously, not.
They were just like
terrible analogy. It's just from the
Blevin,
room of doing a computer attack.
But everywhere they're like, Blevin, you're missing it. Come on, Nick. Well, it's over.
It's over.
Oh
but that's the point. But it's just that that Luthen sacrificed all those people because he was playing the long game. You know, we've just never seen that kind of stuff in Star Wars ever. It's this battle, this, you know, do this step, this step, this step. You know, Luther's thinking 10 steps ahead and making sure we have everything we need for like the long game.
Yeah.
That's why we never met him. We don't know these people. But the point is they sacrifice like good operatives because they can't give up what's on the board.
The one ace in the hand or whatever it's called. Right?
I love that idea of the long game is something that I thought about a lot the second time I watched this, because my initial thought was like, oh, I thought it was like a little bit underwhelmed of like what happened on Ferrex. Is like nobody ever, like there was no showdown with Cassian, but it's like, oh, Cassian's a spy. Like that's the whole thing. He's not a, and this idea of like, I was viewing it as, oh, all the chess pieces are, all the pieces are in position for the big showdown. And it's like, no, this is the last game of like the tournament, where it's like the last move of the first game of like the 10-game tournament, like there's going to be a lot of big things that happen for Cassian before he gets to Scarif. And like, this is just the first, this is just it's the end of one act. It's not the end of the play, if that makes sense, where it's like, oh, he doesn't have to have the showdown with Deidre right now. This is just, been waiting for Deidre and Cyril to like link up and become a horrible, not link up, but like a horrible, disgusting Nazi power couple. And then it was like, because they both hate Cassian so much. But I thought it was going to happen mid-season for the finale, but it actually happened in the finale for season 2.
Yeah.
So like long game on long game on long game. And I love it.
I have so much to talk about. I
feel like we haven't talked about the episode at all.
So
I know.
Yeah. We're because I feel like what ends up happening is we focus on characters and then where they go.
Yeah.
Quick question about Luthen before we move from Luthen. Do you feel like Luthen is a different person at the end of this episode than he was before this episode? Because I think he is changed by Marva's speech, and he is firsthand seeing all the death and destruction that he would wave away as a chess match. Like, it's a chess game, right? Like, he loses the pawn. It's not a big deal. He's never there when he loses the pawn. And in this, he's seeing the small battle in Ferrex in this street. And he's never been there before.
The equivalent of on the Empire, where we're talking about them watching the attack on Krieger and in a room somewhere. That's kind of what Luthen's been doing. I mean, yeah, he's flying and stuff, and he is having meetings in like pretty boardrooms, but he's not been on the ground or maybe seen it like that.
And I think seeing the rebellion in the people too, the way that the people of Ferrex are willing to just like fuck it and just start like charging the Imperials is definitely something he's going to take into account now, because I don't think he's seen that before.
Broadly speaking, the best thing about Andor is the fact that like good and bad aren't just like two things, and that like you can have like good or charismatic people on either side, and like it's the choices that you make. Because again, we were cheering for Daedra to like move up the ranks, but then you realize, oh, she is a fascist.
Oh, she's a terrible person. Yeah.
Horrible.
And every time Cassian kills somebody, he doesn't do it in anywhere near a nice way. Like, he is always putting a gun like right point blank in someone's chest and being like, pow, Even in this episode, he like takes out some Imperial in a movie way. You hit him, he falls over, you think it's over. No, he's not done. He takes his gun and then he's like, pow, like, and he's done that several times in the episode to show that, like, there's lots of movies we can point to where like the good guys don't use firearms, and it's always like karate chops, and we're just fighting hand to hand because guns are bad.
Yeah.
But Cassian has shown that he's like brutal that way, which is how Rogue One opens too. He kills that guy after getting information, which is what, to your point, is that the bad guys aren't all bad, even though the Empire is pretty bad. There's things to root for, and the good guys aren't perfect.
Right.
Which is how life is.
Yeah. I don't know what this says about me as a person, but there's just something about seeing Cassian Andor with a blaster in his hand that like makes my heart grow, a la the Grinch. Like, every time he shoots someone with a blaster, I'm like, like I just get a warm and fuzzy feeling. He just like does it. Maybe it's Diego Luna. Like, he just does it so well. Like the swagger that he has with it. Also, no one can walk with a trench coat with a hoodie up quite like him. I've never seen anyone walk as well.
There was some
love Diego Luna. And his eye acting, phenomenal. The way that man, so good.
I'm so good. And he got to do a lot in this episode. There were some episodes in the middle where he wasn't always at the center of everything, because we had a lot of story to tell to get to where we are today. But this was a really good episode for him, and you could see to your point, Dimithri, how he's really kind of changed and like become from one start off one place and ends up somewhere else.
I mean, we're not going to get to this just yet, but eventually I do want to ask you guys what we think is going to happen in season 2, because I have some ideas. But Mon Mothma, this is something I brought up earlier. Let's talk about Mon Mothma and how this ends. She gets 2 scenes.
She gets 2 scenes, but they're really good ones. So she's in her car, tells the driver to shut off the sound. And the minute she did that and you saw him listening, I'm like, she knows he's listening.
Yeah.
She knows.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he's seen giving the information right to the ISB, but it explains why. Oh, that explains the money. It's a setup. I don't even think Perrin's in on it.
She's so good.
No, Perrin's not. She's throwing him to the dogs.
But he's had a gambling problem in the past, I believe. That seemed set up like real. And he's like, no, I'm not. He was lying. And she's like, I've had it. I don't want it, and that was great acting. And then the other scene, heartbreaking, but I saw that coming. I don't know. My husband was thinking like, oh, I can't believe. I'm like, no, I saw it coming. The way that scene ended in episode 11, where he's like, it's a lot to think about. And she says, I'm not thinking about it. And she's like, that's the first thing, untrue thing you've said. And I'm like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. Brutal.
Yeah. Oh, Darth Chaco's out here. What's up, Darth Chaco?
Oh, no way. No, Brandon.
Darth Chaco says, I think Luthen is changing too. Can't wait to see how he grows. I was cheering when she got hit in the face with that rock. Oh, when Daedra got hit in the face.
Oh, knocked her hat off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then Darth Chaco says, Mon Mothma threw both under the bus. It hurts, but she did what she had to do. And then Karen saying she's looking at the long game too. And Mr. Plow says her daughter embraced their lifestyle. I think there's a couple of things to do with Mon Mothma's choice. One is she doesn't have that great of a relationship with her daughter. If her daughter was like her best friend, if it was like a Gilmore Girls situation, maybe she wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I'm going to go on the record and say I would never sell my daughter to a, as an arranged
crazy thug criminal person.
But
money.
I think that her daughter embracing the lifestyle theoretically should make it easier for Mon Mothma, but really makes it harder because she is trying to get her free of this tradition, trying to get her a better life. And the daughter's like, actually, I'm going the opposite way. And so it's like, it should make it easier, but I think it makes it harder. This idea that I don't want to do it, but you want to, it's so much more complicated.
And they wrote it that way, I think, too. When that scene happened where they talk about how she's praying or she's in the religious group or whatever it is, shows that she's a part of the old ways. I saw them go, okay, so this is setting up to make it easy for us as the audience to take it when she does the youth marriage thing.
Yeah.
And sure enough, in that episode, you see, I watched the daughter's face. I mean, I watched all 3 faces. Parent has got nothing.
Yes.
But her face is like, she's kind of excited. She's like, yes, this is what I do. She's okay with it, which makes us, it's easier for us to take, because if the poor daughter was screaming and like, Mom, what are you doing this to me? And they was, it'd be horrible. We couldn't have it, That's what makes it easier pill to swallow for the audience.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of just bad in a brainwashy cult sort of way. Like she should get out of it, but no, she's part of it, Mr. Plow says you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time listening to people talk about cults, and that's the whole thing. Is like if you're that bought into it, but I mean, she's so young.
Yeah,
right. So that's it's.
How old is she supposed to be? 16, right?
She's 13.
Is she 13?
She's 13, turning 14.
And the boy is 14. Yeah.
Mon got married at 16, though, right? Or 14?
15.
Okay.
I think they said they've been married a year and they came right 16 or something.
Oh, okay.
Something, but around the same 15, 16, I think. Yeah.
Oh, she was a 16-year-old senator. That's what it was. And then she was married before that.
We'd already been married a year. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to give it up to Perrin, though. He looked like I liked his outfit in that final scene.
They all kind of had a little matching thing.
Yeah. I like the outfits.
It felt like a wedding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It had that wedding vibe, even though it wasn't a wedding, but you knew it was the communication with the way everyone was standing and what they were wearing and how they were facing each other. It makes our brain go.
It's a betrothal
marriage.
of stories.
Yeah, a betrothal, better word. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also like, we have company, bring out the good silverware, you know? Like,
Yeah.
Gotta make a good impression to this mob boss.
I like that we get, I'm completely changing the subject. Because
I mean,
chronologically,
you're co-host, so you can do that.
this is what happens
Yeah.
next. Cassian looking at Clem's brick and the flashback
Wait,
to him.
where was Clem's brick?
Yeah.
I didn't realize this.
It's in the
He's
wall.
touching it and remembering his scene with his dad.
That's
about
what he was
cleaning the
touching.
parts.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what he was.
They don't show it great, but yeah.
When you see Marva's brick later, it's the same kind of
you
style.
connect what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But when he says people don't look down to where they should, and then that calls back to what Nemec said, which I looked in my notes because I had written it down, that he said surprise from below is never as shocking. No, a surprise from above is never as shocking as one from below. So this idea of people don't look down to notice, like the little people, like the Empire's not looking down, so they're not noticing the rebellion that's brewing. People don't look down, so they're not noticing you, Cassian, but you're going to, as Marva said, when the things that you know and the things that you feel come together, you're going to be an unstoppable force for good. And I was like, Marva.
I love the symbolism and the imagery that they do in every single episode, where it's like everything's can be turned around, right? Like many people together creates something, right? Makes a difference, but it's one way or another. Empire, rebellion, whatnot. But then also like surprise from below and a surprise from above. The Empire started off below and came up, right? Like it was like Palpatine working behind the scenes and building things up, little things here and there, and it built up. And then now the Empire's above these people, let's just say of Ferrix, and the Empire doesn't notice them coming up, right?
Yeah, because Nemec says...
Like, fascism can come out of nowhere, but so can rebellion.
Yeah, the imperial need for control is desperate because it's so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. Oppression is the mask of fear. I love how manifesto-y his manifesto is.
It's very
Classic.
What was so great about it, like you knew exactly what it was. Like they showed the picture of like what I like, oh yeah, from the kid Nemec, right? It was so funny. This actually they put a lot of speeches in this episode that I didn't even notice I was being kind of receiving speeches as much as they were. Yeah, but that's how well it was done, that he's reading his manifesto, and even what his dad is talking to him is kind of like he's teaching him a lesson. And then he gets Marva's message, his words from his friend whose name is escaping me at the moment. And then, of course, Marva in her own eulogy.
Part of Clem's thing, though, also with the cleaning off of these old things that people have discarded, is that they add up, right?
Yeah.
Things add up. That's right. Is that the message of the show? Whether it's good or whether it's bad, things add up.
I want to talk about the message of the show, and I want to talk about how it's a big go screw yourself to Yoda. Nemec's big thing is these things are adding up, and one day it's going to be one too many. One single thing will break the siege. Try. Don't take Yoda's advice. There's no try. All you can do is try. One thing is going to be the thing that breaks them. So you have to try to do the one thing. And I thought that was amazing, because as a teacher, the do or do not, there is no try, has always annoyed me. I was like, that's what? Like trying, what? That's not bad. That's bad advice.
I view them differently in real life. I think that people who fall on the, at least I tried, maybe didn't do as hard as they should have done. Because sometimes people are like, I'm allowed, like, obviously in real life, people are allowed to make mistakes. But if you go through life being like, I am able to make a mistake, it does not matter whether I like succeed or fail, because I can make a mistake, then maybe they might not try as hard, And
I always took it that way.
What's that?
I always take the same way, that it's about just trying isn't enough. You got to keep trying.
Yeah.
But that's not actually what he says, Sarah. I mean, that's the point. It sounds like it's shitting on trying.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's also
But I
Jedi
never took
way.
it though. I took it the way you did, yeah.
Like the space wizards, right? They're the superheroes. Maybe they can have the philosophy of like, do or do not, there is no try.
Right.
But that's not us in real life. Us in real life are more like Nemec and these people. Every day you try.
You got to keep trying. You just can't give up.
Yeah.
That's the better message. It's like, just, Galaxy Quest, never give up, never surrender.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because that's the thing about Andor. I've never felt closer to the Star Wars universe than Andor.
Exactly. Because we're seeing real people do real stuff. We got to see like a marching band and a funeral thing. We've seen people's underwear. We've seen, you know what I mean? We've seen kitchens. There's so many little things that you're like, oh, I've never seen this before in live action Star Wars. Like all those little things that kind of click your brain, at least for us as super nerds. But it as a big sort of picture, it makes this is the people that are what we're all fighting for. Luke and his X-wing and the team. Well, it doesn't matter. It's all because of these little things, which we've never gotten to see before.
Yeah, space flutes. I was so excited to see space flutes. Like they're different enough to just be weird. Also very relatable how Brasso and Zan are talking about how Zan is, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He's the one that Cassian talked to on the phone. And then he talks to Brasso and says like, hey, I talked to Cassian. He knows about Marva.
Is he the one who jumps on the back of the stormtrooper and then gets shot off?
Yeah.
He does die. I said no one dies. He does die, yeah.
They're having this conversation in the middle of a busy street. And they're like, walk with me. Let's talk about it. And then one of them says, you can't be too careful. And it's like, what? Are you guys being careful? You're talking about it in the middle of the street. And now a guy who doesn't like Cassian overheard you and is now telling the Imperials, like, bro, like, go
because they're not
private.
Spies, they're just people messing up, right?
And I'm like, yeah, I would probably do that too.
Yeah.
The Marva thing that Brasso relays to Cassian. She says, it's not your fault. It was already burning. He was just the first spark of the fire. I don't really know what that means. But then he knows everything he needs to know and feels everything he needs to feel. When those two come together, he will be an unstoppable force for good. I love him more than anything he could do wrong. First of all, props to Brasso for remembering that. Like word for word. I mean, I guess if it was like my friend's dying, words to her son, I would definitely try to remember it. But the I could love him more than anything he could do wrong was I started crying.
Me too.
Like maybe it's because I'm a mom or because I have a mom. Could be either of those things, but that was very just really moving. And to have that like tender mom speech to Cassian and then to get up there in her like posthumous speech to everyone and be so like she's sparking the rebellion, but then has like these soft little words for Cassian. It was like a nice, like, that's the duality of Marva. Like she loves him. He obviously feels terrible that he left. But then she's able to get up there and be like, fight the Empire.
Do we have her speech?
So good. Of course. I have some of it. So she says, first of all, she says, I was 6 the first time I touched a funerary stone, which I thought was interesting because Cassian says to Jyn that he's been in this fight since he was 6 years old. She talks about sleeping. We've been sleeping. They left us alone. Like we traded with them and they left us alone and we forgot about them because we had each other. We had Ferrix. Then the absolute bangers. There is a wound that won't heal at the center of the galaxy. A darkness reaching like rust into everything around us. We let it grow. I like that she said, we let it grow. The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness. Perhaps it's too late. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting these bastards from the start. And then she says, fight the Empire. My one criticism that I will say, and you can agree or disagree. I don't know if you've seen those things where they're like, every PG-13 movie gets one fuck they can say. I would have liked to see her say, fuck the Empire. But that's just me. That's just because I think I know how much Fiona Shaw swears like in her real life. So I would have liked to hear it from Fiona Shaw.
Is that her, the actress?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna get distracted. I feel like Disney, Marvel, that whole thing, they have a different set of.
It's a shame.
She
did say bastards.
They won't. There's never been an F-bomb in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And they won't do it in Star Wars either. But I will agree that if there was one time, but there's been more cursing in this show than ever in any Star Wars ever. They said shit. Sorry, I don't know how PG-13 our podcast is.
No, you can do whatever you want.
They've said bastard a couple times.
Yeah.
I remember the first shit. I'm like, that's new.
I don't even register like the shits like in real life. Like I don't register it.
But for Star Wars, that's never happened. Think of how Han Solo talks, and that's the dirtiest you'll ever get. You say, I'll see you in hell, that kind of thing.
Or there's like Star Wars versions of cursing.
Yeah.
Right, that came later. But even like think of it just like what is the standard
is it
level
Dank
of
Ferric? Is that what?
Right, we're kind of a Dank Ferric now.
I think that if I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting these bastards from the start is probably my favorite line of that. But it was one of those things where it was like, how long are they going to let this go on? And you can see that main guy being like, she's going too far. But then when she says, I'd be fighting these bastards, he's like, nope, it's over. And then he kicks B2 Emo over. And I was like, why is this man still alive?
I wanted him to die.
I wanted him to die immediately after doing that.
I want his cape though. And I just...
Cape's cool.
The only time... When do we ever see good guys in capes? Lando has a cape. We know that. Do we see other good guys in capes? It tends to be a status symbol,
it's a cape poncho.
It's a poncho, yeah. I mean, I don't be like the costume nerd here, but it's the same style poncho they wore in Rogue One, like the rain gear.
Is it?
But the back is open, so the belt keeps the front in place and the back is open. So it's technically like a poncho thing. Oh. It's not a cape. But it evokes the nature of a cape. And I'd also say Luthen, in an episode where he goes to meet the ISB plant and he goes to the top and that whole Shakespearean moment where the door is open, he has a very cape silhouette. I think it's a coat. But when you said about when do good guys wear capes, I remember just seeing him. I'm like, oh my gosh, for a second, he looks like he's a Jedi or he's a Vader or something. You know what I mean?
Some people said it was because of the catwalk. Cloaks. You never see a friend on a catwalk.
That's a really good point.
You know,
you never see a friend on a catwalk. Something bad's going down if you're on a catwalk in a high place.
Right.
Yeah. Brasso also knocks the dude out with Marva's
with his brick.
Stone.
Yes.
I think she would have loved that.
Loved it.
Yeah, that was lovely.
Jen, I don't know. We was it last episode, Sarah? The episode before where I said something that broke us because I saw it on Twitter.
Oh yeah, it was last episode.
Was it last episode?
Yeah.
Jen, I want to see if this will break you. How do I? Everybody of Ferrix, when they turn to ash, they get turned into a brick, right? They get cremated, they get turned into a brick. And Cassian will never. He was turned to ash, but will never become a brick on Ferrix.
Okay, but look what he did with his life, though. I think it's okay.
I think
it's
so.
Okay.
I've gotten over it, but it broke me when I first heard it. But when somebody said he is the brick for the rebellion.
Also,
right, the Death Star plans are his brick.
Yeah.
Think of it that way.
Yeah.
Also, to be fair, now that I see Clem's brick, they do seem to be more decorative than load bearing.
Okay.
So maybe it's meaningless. I think it's Pac, the one that was killed. His son is the one that's making the bomb.
I didn't put two together until Mr. Plow, I think, in the comments said that.
Yeah, because he has the hologram up of his dad.
Yeah,
he's looking at his dad while he's building the bomb.
Tortured, interrogated using the same techniques they did on Bix. Yeah, he died.
And the bomb goes off, but then it knocks over all the bombs that the Imperials brought to this funeral. So that's kind of on them. If you didn't have a crate of bombs, it wouldn't have been that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a bigger explosion, I think, than he intended, but also a VIP of this episode. MVP. Oh God. I don't watch sports.
Darth Chaco brings up a good thing. The stormtrooper that goes up to the tower, Darth Chaco says, disagree. I want the stormtrooper who got kicked off the tower to have a falling F. Oh, a fuck. To say fuck.
Yeah.
As
he's going
Did
down.
he get a Wilhelm scream?
He did not get a Wilhelm scream.
That's tragic.
Yeah. But somebody online, because everybody's digging like Andor, and not digging Andor, yes, but like into it, trying to be like, what is the symbolism? What's all this stuff? The stormtrooper just thought like the anvil guy would just stop. Like, that's fear for you, right? Like, a stormtrooper comes up and he's just like, I'll put down my hammers. I guess that's it. Because the stormtrooper didn't come up shooting. He just was like,
also,
stop.
like, it's too, like, what do you think? You think you think everyone's hypnotized? Like, when the anvil stops? I think it's just more that it's bothering them. It's like, it's not,
right.
He's riling everybody up, but everybody's already riled up.
Yeah.
The music is so good. Also, the music that they're playing as they are slowly marching is it's in the opening logo.
They do the opening theme in Bad Marching Band, where I'm like,
is that what it is?
But they're playing the opening theme of the show before the show starts with those instruments. Oh, it's like a little bit out of tune, like a community band would sound. I mean, they're fine, but they're not like pros. I thought that was a big clue. Like, this is gonna be a funeral procession.
I thought it was funny that they'd said, like, we let them have 40 people. That's so much more than 40 people. But they started early, which throws them off their game. And then the moment that I started crying, that was the most inexplicable moment that I started crying in this episode, was when the music stopped and then it picks up faster. I don't know why, but I broke into tears. I was like, this is like when they were like, we're doing it. And they like started like going, like briskly walking towards the Imperial like barricade. I started crying. And I was like, I don't know why this is making me cry, but it made me cry. Like openly.
The whole show is like a painting. It's so beautiful. And it's so well put together. There's just these great cinematic moments that I felt that too. I don't know if I teared up at that, but just like people picked up the pace and like the shot changed and the scale. And listen, you guys know I love The Mandalorian, but like I think stuff shot in the volume, I'm going to miss this. You know what I mean? They shot in the UK in places and it's like huge and epic and big. And there's 2 stories and, it's very real. I just think the look of it, I think it contributes to these moments, these feelings, Yeah. It's me.
No, that's something that just happened in House of the Dragon is sorry, Dimithri.
Yeah,
I gotta do it every episode. Game of Thrones was largely shot on location, and then House of the Dragon is shot in the volume. Oh. And you can absolutely tell.
It's a real
bummer. Side note,
there's no climbing stairs in the volume. It's one story.
Yeah.
And here we're like flying up and like, it's huge,
My daughter's dad now works for like a visual arts college that works with Lucasfilm, and he gets to go to the volume. So
that's cool.
Wow.
Good for him.
I'm
like, take me with you.
Cinta stabs that guy. She follows him. She stabs. I really like that stab. And
real dirty stab.
What's up?
It's like a dirty stab.
It was a dirty stab, but like there was something about seeing a brown woman stab a colonizer, a fascist, whatever you want to call him, fucking asshole. Like there was something about it. There was an extra layer, at least for me.
I went and saw Black Panther on Monday night, so I get that connection now.
And she doesn't hesitate. There's no moment of like, no. She's an operative. We're talking on the show about her, that she is a true believer. Maybe one of the most that we've seen in the show. We haven't gotten to get like peel her layers back yet, but seeing her, it was what I liked about it too. Was just it was just no qualms, nothing, just you're a spy, you got to go,
Here's the question that people bring up online. Cinta killed the wife and child, right? In episode 6?
They show it?
No.
Or it's
No,
assumed?
but now I'm pretty sure.
She wouldn't have left them alive to point them back to the trail of them.
True, because the only face they had was Cassian somehow, or a name. They didn't have anybody.
But they had her face.
They did?
Like she's in front. Like she's not wearing a mask. When she shoots the guy in the first time, they take
Right,
the
but I'm
family.
saying is that's why you're saying that she killed everybody, because no one is left alive that has seen her.
Oh yeah, that we see.
Right.
Like we don't see any of those characters afterwards.
Right.
She just strolls out.
So she had to have killed them, or else they'd be after her, because the wife and kid would be like, this is what she looks like.
Yeah.
This is what she sounds like, the whole thing. So yeah, I think just the math of that says, sure, she killed them. Maybe in a nice way. I don't know. Probably not though.
In like a of mice and men sort of way.
No, maybe in a nice way.
Yeah, but
Maybe she
that's a
like-
nice way, right?
But the poor kid didn't do anything wrong. He didn't even want to be there,
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, he's dead.
I mean,
That's how it goes.
I guess a more cruel, but also less violent. I don't know. She could have cut their tongues out. Then what are they going to do? Draw a picture?
I think she she just cut off the oxygen to the room, so they went to sleep.
Why
Why are we talking about that? What a weird thing to be talking about. But yeah, they're
Cinta does
dead.
not seem like a half measures cut their tongue out type person.
No.
I think if she's gonna do that, she's gonna kill him. Yeah, she's cold as ice, and I love her. I love her very much.
Mr. Plow says Cinta's introduction was the medic, right?
Yeah.
She was patching up Cassian.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was just like she has this knowledge. I don't think she specifically, but they said like the young ones are the true believers, and it was her and Nemec.
Yeah. By the way, just a side note, we don't have to get into it, but this show makes me want to play a Star Wars TTRPG. Like, I want to play a tabletop. Like, and create our characters and stuff. Like, that's what I was thinking after the show was over. I was like, I want to play characters like these.
I feel like this is the chance you would get to be able to do that, where everyone doesn't pick a Jedi. Like when
Yes.
my students, I did a D&D club with them, and we had a group of like 7 rogue elves. And I was like, guys, I know it sounds like it's the coolest, but this is going to be insufferable.
I don't
And
know.
they were like, we're 14. And I was like, okay.
What's insufferable is me playing bards and charismatic characters. That's pretty insufferable. And I tend to do that. So
my kids D&D group was called the Avengers of Murder. So they're like the Avengers, but of murder. That was their tagline.
Listen, you gotta avenge something. Murder's not a bad one.
Yeah.
So
So we got a couple of comments from the chat. Mr. Plow says it's a shank and she didn't care that her hands were dirty. No, she did not care. Darth Chaco says Cinta's obsession with the ISB agent at the expense of her relationship did kind of hurt, though. Yeah. Like I said, I want Vel and Cinta to be in love, love.
do we see what happened to them at the end? Where did they go? Where did they end up? We
They
don't
just
see,
pack
right?
up and leave, right? That's the
Yeah.
last time we see them.
Oh, right. They're packing up
Yeah.
together. Yeah. Right.
She's
Oh,
like,
so
yeah.
see, listen, they're gonna share. They're gonna have a little romantic space flight, baby.
They're
somewhere.
U-hauling it. They're going to move in together. And they were roommates.
Yeah, history will say they were roommates. Darth Chaco says the way the camera showed the distance between the two of them was great visual storytelling.
Because she walks in and she's by the window and she says something like, come stand closer to me, or stand something, like do something that shows me that you care that I'm physically in your presence. She says something about that. And Brandon's right that there's this distance.
Yeah, she says like nice to see you too, or something like kind of passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Because she's like, no, the Cassian came in and the spy and the ISB's here. And I'm busy. I couldn't come get you at the airport.
Yeah, I
Like,
couldn't come get you at
get
the
an Uber.
airport.
Right. And she's like, but I love you. And she's like, listen, we met through work. I'm working,
Yeah. Well, did they meet through work?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I
I don't
assumed they're both rebels and that's how they met, because they're doing rebel stuff. I mean, we don't know a lot about Cinta. I didn't realize that we don't find out later until that Vel's Mon's cousin, which kind of seemed unnecessary to me, but maybe that'll make more sense in the next season. We haven't gotten that kind of any sort of deep dive on Cinta yet. We don't know what her story is, where she's coming from, how she got to the rebellion, anything like that.
I think where we see these characters come from determines, it's their experiences that determine what type of rebel they are and how involved they are, right?
Right. Everyone's going to have a rebel origin story, you know?
Right. But what kind of rebel? Like, it used to be that we were all like, in Star Wars, in the original trilogy, like, they're all rebels. Everybody from all these different walks of life come to the same, they're all meeting at the same point. But in this, like, Luthen's a different type of rebel than Krieger, the little that we know, different than Saw Gerrera, different than Mon.
Yeah.
Right. But they all end up at the Massassi Temple on Yavin 4, right? Like, or whatever. Maybe they all end up there if they're not dead. I don't know. But the point being is that, like,
not Cassian.
In the original trilogy, all the rebels we know are on Yavin 4 at the Massassi Temple.
Because by then they've organized. There is a rebel alliance, and at this point there isn't yet. It's this faction, this separatist, and this all those cool words that Saw had, and partisans and blah blah blah. So they're not like working together. And that's what I feel like Luthen is trying to do. But even Luthen's doing his own thing and sacrificing Krieger. You know.
Yeah.
There needs to be unity, and that's I would guess, as we're going to talk about what's going to happen in season 2, that's what we're going to start pulling towards. Going to start pulling everybody together, because that's what needs to happen. Obviously, that's an easy thing for me to say, because we know it's what happens by the time we get to A New Hope and Rogue One, that there is a organized rebel alliance, and we don't have that yet.
Right. I mean, I feel like the last of the old guard was Saw, the last of the rebels, the factions. But, like, in Rogue One, was Saw even helping the rebels at that point? Or was he just kind of the crazy guy in the corner? And the rebellion had passed him up at that point?
Well, that's what Jen says. She's like, you're all rebels, aren't you? And he's like, yeah, but Saw is kind of an extremist. He's caused some problems, you know. So he's not a part of, like, the political structure of the Rebel Alliance with, like, senators, and they have votes. Like, no, Jen, we can't go to Scarif because we just voted, you know. Whereas we don't have any of that now. We're just like Luthen and Saw and Krieger, and they named some more in that list that I can't think of right now. Pam.
Pam. Jen. Dwight.
Isn't that a Star Wars name?
Michael.
It's Pam, but with 2 M's, so it's Star Wars.
And like an apostrophe and a Z.
Has anyone memed Prison Mike?
Pam.
in the prison? Has anyone put Prison Mike in there? That's his name, right? Prison Mike?
Yeah, Prison Mike.
Who's Prison Mike? Which one?
It's Michael Scott, but with a bandana?
Yeah, he says the worst thing about prison was the Dementors. Yeah.
So has anyone memed Prison Mike in that prison? Oh, Darth Chaco says
he's
all right, take it.
You can have that meme. That meme's for you.
I want to do a meme where it's the community meme where it's like, I can excuse blah, 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 but I draw the line at blah, blah, blah. But I can excuse fascism, but I draw the line at tipping B2 emo over. Like, everybody was upset about that. Like, fascism, okay, but don't you dare hurt that droid.
I want #justice for B2 emo.
Yeah.
He's okay. I'm glad he was okay. I thought opening the show, I'm like, if someone's going to go, it could be him, because we'll all get so upset. But he made it. He's okay. He's on the ship. He got pulled like a little string toy.
Yeah, he had to say goodbye to Cassian. And he's like, you always say that, Cassian. He's like, you always pull through for me, B2. I was like...
Cassian didn't know he was going to...
Cassian
he would see him again,
droids. Right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Cassian ever thought he would see him again. It's so sad.
That's, again, consistent theme of Star Wars is how you treat your droids.
Yes. Yep.
The one exception is Din Djarin, who does not like droids, but that's because they killed his family, right?
I mean, the separatist droids are a little bit different, but
and bounty droids get fuzzy because they're, bounty hunters.
it's well, it's the idea that like any group of people are capable of bad things, any individual person, but judging all droids by, you know, the thing that happened to Din isn't fair to all droids, you know?
But it's tough to Sarah's point, though. If you lived through those battles and encountered battle droids, that's pretty valid,
right?
You know,
right.
But we don't, like, when you think of the original trilogy, when you first saw it and you didn't know about those things, like you just see droids as these little happy helpers. Those are the droids we're talking about. But it's an interesting level now that what Separatist droids did. I think a lot of people would feel how Din Djarin did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're talking real life, it'd be like, you know, I don't know, people who bring up like wars in other countries, and like a group of people come in and they burn their village to the ground, and then like now they're in America and they're old and they're like, I don't like this group of people, and it's like,
right.
You know,
I was going to say a less controversial. I was going to say, like, if you get mauled by a dog and then you don't like dogs anymore.
Sure.
Yeah, that works.
You blame all dogs. All dogs
right.
are the same, right?
Yeah.
But look, it's important to accept people that you love, even though they have flaws. So that's how I feel about Din Djarin and his dislike of droids.
But he gets over it,
I can
right?
look past his flaws.
Gets over.
Yeah, because that one sacrifices its life for him.
He's reprogrammed as a nurse droid.
He
protects.
Yeah. His little baby.
I also think it's a broader in the Star Wars universe. It's a broader look at like sentience as a what purpose does it serve me, versus they are autonomous beings, literally autonomous, right? But like, you know what I mean?
there's a lot of sticky debates about the sentience of droids in Star Wars and how often they just get like kind of exploded while they're helping out with X-Wings. But
But I think that's your point, Dimithri, is that do you see them as just these machines that are talking, or do you see them as like people?
Right.
Like friends,
Right.
And that's what you mean about like how you view droids is a pretty instant judge of character in Star Wars.
The Imperials have only a couple of different droids, right? They have that little mouse droid that's doing,
and they don't talk.
They have
they don't really talk. Right.
Pokey one.
The probe droid.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope that I wish that droid's like technical name was Pokey-1.
What'd you say?
Because you said they have the probe droid. He's the Pokey one, and I was like, I hope that's his like
B2
B2 emo Pokey one.
Oh, the interrogator.
That was a
right?
terrible joke. Yeah.
Pokey.
Yeah, like Leia's, is that her cousin? That's like, why do you say thank you to droids?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's like, because I'm not a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we see it a lot in every single one of these shows. I don't know.
I'm interested.
Oh, what's up?
I'm interested in if we ever get to see anyone on that spaceship again. I'm assuming we do, because we have Brasso, we have Pox Kid, we have
Bix,
and
the pilot.
The woman's name, who I forgot. She's the daughter of Ferrix.
The daughter of Ferrix, who was trying to get her to take her medicine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there another guy, an older gentleman?
Was he fueling the ship? He's the guy that runs the shipyard, though. I don't know. Was he on the ship though? I don't think he got on it.
I don't think he did.
The Imperials are going to come in and kill everybody.
He asked if the ship can make it, and he said if they make it out of here. So I don't think there's a lot of third person.
But like
pronouns.
The Imperials are going to raise that place to the ground. Right? They're going to raise Ferrix to the after an uprising, the Imperials are just going to be okay with it?
No, I think it's...
I think we're not going to ever find out, because I think you're right. You know what I mean?
I think it's going to have a mysterious fate like...
Aldani?
No.
Oh.
What's the name of the...
Because to your point, everyone we cared about on that planet either died or left.
Yeah.
So we're done. We're done. Yeah. We're not going back.
Just like we're never going to see what happens to Kino, because That part of the story is done. Kino's never coming back. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I would be surprised if he comes back. I wouldn't hate the idea, but like, it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
But I don't think Kino's coming back.
No, I would be surprised if he did.
There'd be no point. I trust the writers. Every flaw,
I do
every
too.
like question or flaw, I'm like, why is this a thing?
There's
it's
one
gonna
thing
pay.
I'm having trouble trusting the writers on, and that is, why did we spend so much time in the first episode talking about Cassian's sister if we were never going to mention it again? I'm like, I know that the show is a slow burn, but that's a real, like, if there's not going to be literally any relevance to it.
They brought up a couple things to do with that. Whatever happened on that planet, we don't know.
He was looking for his sister. And then Marva, when he leaves, Marva's like, one last thing, don't go looking for your sister. And it's like,
that's a season.
Are we going to just drop a mention of it every like 5 episodes? Like,
that's a season 2, right?
Yeah, it has to be. But then also, I don't know. I don't know why because the flashbacks to Kenari served a purpose, even if the purpose wasn't he has a sister. You know,
Exactly.
it did seem, it filled out his story. It gave you a lot more information about him. It's how he got with Marva, like all those things about his early life. I think it's just interesting that I was like, they really dropped, they played heavy on that the first couple episodes, and then we're like, meh.
Because your point is they could have gotten to those flashbacks in many ways, not through this very specific and very personal way. I actually completely not forgot about it, but like, oh yeah, that's how the show starts. He's going to a brothel. Kids, this isn't for you.
Yeah.
And looking for his sister. And then that wasn't a part of it all, but maybe, like at all.
Yeah.
Because then we find out about his adoptive parents, and we focus more on them and flashbacks with them and how he came to Ferrex and the whole thing, which is also important. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then like in between us organizing the Rebel Alliance in season 2, we're going to find out where his sister is. I don't know. It's just, it's a weird thing to write. It's a weird thread. Yeah.
It's easy because he meets so many randos.
It was just so random, and like to mention it so much in like the first couple of episodes and then mention it once in like episode, whatever that was, 7. It's like, if you're going to have to remind us that it happened in season 2, why didn't you just save it for season 2? But that's just, I think the weird part is mentioning it again in episode 7, like mentioning it, having it kind of be the plot of why he was on that, why he was on Morlana 1, like why that was happening at the very beginning. And then much later down the road, we can be like, oh, right, that's how this whole thing started. But then it was very weird to me that Marva mentioned it again. The last thing was like, make sure you don't go looking for your sister. I was like,
or is the whole point that she's gone and it's over, and it's just it's a futile search for her, but this is how we get to her backstory? But then tell us that. But I guess there'd be no way to know that.
Yeah.
I trust.
I'll come back. Yeah, I'll come back in 2 years and be like, oh, yep, that was all right, Tony Gilroy, I guess you knew what you were talking about,
I trust that it'll work out. Here's the question. Why is Andor so good? We know we know all these things, the things that we like, but like, why is this show so different than the other shows? Might I say that I think it's because they know their 24-step story. They know their story in 24 steps, which are episodes, right? I feel like this season finale didn't feel like a season finale because season finales of shows are sometimes like up in the air. Like, we end things, we have a cliffhanger, and things end big. It might be the end of the show. Things are big. But then they're like, we're going to get a 13th chapter after this 12th, right? We're going to get another season. We don't have to finish all our storylines in episode 12. We have a guaranteed 24. Is that what makes it different?
I think to your point, the time that they have time to spread out and do character in a way that very few shows get to do like this. especially on Disney Plus, I think that's what's made it good is, so to your point that they have 24 steps, that they're taking 24 steps, but that they have 24 steps. They're not telling the story in 4 episodes or 6 or 8 or whatever. They got 12. And a lot of them were pretty close to an hour. They had a lot of time to do a lot of things. They were able to explain things. They didn't have to rush stuff,
You're right. They're not hitting over the head. Was that you who said it earlier? They're not hitting.
Yeah, I was saying about the Death Star thing at the end. I'm like, okay, I got it.
It feels to me kind of like how like they have like the last movie of a franchise. Now the big thing to do is to split it up into 2. Deathly Hallows Part 1 and then Part 2. It feels like that. It feels like the first half of Andor ended. So it feels like there's a very clear, like, okay, we're setting people up for the next stage of the journey. And I think, Mr. Plow, hey, you said it in the chat, this idea of like the 3 episode arcs, I think might have been why this felt a little bit quieter, because if it's like build up, big episode. And then this one was like a 2-parter, it's a little bit smaller. It's a smaller chunk. So the payoff, I still think that the battle of and I think, hold on, my thought is organizing as I'm talking. The idea that it's not a shootout between Cassian and Deidre. It's not a Luthen versus, it's the people of Ferrix versus the Imperials.
Yes.
While all the other stuff is going on in the background is kind of the thesis of the whole show. It's not going to be a Cassian shootout. It's not going to be a showdown at the OK Corral between Cassian and Deidre, because it's really about the people of Ferrix versus the Imperials. It's about the rebellion, and the rebellion isn't all about Cassian. And I think that's the thing about the show is there are moments sometimes where you're like, oh, right, we have to talk about Cassian. He's supposed to be the start, but it's like, it's about the rebellion. It's about Cassian, of course, but it's about the birth of the rebellion and what that means, and kind of seeing it as a microcosm, like through Cassian, but how it stems out to Ferrix as a whole, that the big thing is Ferrix rebelling, not necessarily a personal beef between Deidre and Cassian, or Cyril and Cassian. But the way that Cyril doesn't care about Cassian at all because he sees Deidre there is also hilarious to me. Like his whole thing was like, I gotta get back to Ferrix.
Cassian is the reason my life ruined.
And then he's like, Deidre's here. It's like the big heart eyes. And
but
then,
in a totally creepy, random way that I'm still not even sure if he's in love with her. Like I still don't get it. It's horrible, but it's kind of fascinating. Like I've never seen this before. Because like, listen, we've all seen a million TV shows, movies. We know all the tropes. We know how these stuff is made, how it's acted, how it's told in a visual way. I've never seen this. Like, I don't know I know we've already talked about this. I don't know what's going on there. And that fascinates me. I was saying what you're saying, Sarah, about the show, like now is the finale about the people becoming rebels and find the Empire. That's what the whole, it was a long path. That's what happened to Cassian. The show was about Cassian becoming a diehard rebel from the beginning to the end of the show. So that little battle, the big battle at the end is what happens to our hero too. It just, we see it in a much bigger 12-part story. I like that though. I like, it's this, there's always the big third act, big battle, and we didn't have that. We had a street skirmish. It was nice.
I think it's because we know that Andor isn't in big danger.
Right. We know he lives.
We know he
right.
lives.
So why have him have a showdown with anyone when you know he's gonna walk out? Okay.
Right.
Exactly.
Let's put our eggs in another basket, which is the people.
Which is someone kicked that droid over, and I am furious. At least he got kicked in the chest immediately after he did that.
I love chest kicks.
Brasso, like, episode after episode, just killing it. Just truly one of the most perfect specimens.
He's a tank, though, right?
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat, I think it was Mr. Plow that brought up in the chat that he's also smart, too. Like, when he was doing the alibi in the first episode, he was rolling, right?
That's why it made me so mad when the guy that was trying to wait, hold on, I wrote his name down. Nurchi, the guy who was like snitching to the Imperials, when he was like, man, could you imagine your mom dies and then Brasso puts her brick? And I was like, I would be honored for Brasso to put my mother's brick in the wall if I could not make it. Like, how dare you talk bad about Brasso like that?
I would trust him to handle things. Yeah.
Whatever happened to Nurchi's
I would trust him to handle things.
That big alien guy?
I don't know.
In the first episode?
The aliens kind of, they paired him away. It was a very human forward show. Obviously the prison was very, there was no aliens in the prison. We saw all those people.
Yeah.
And I noticed that in the Ferrix thing too, like in the first few street scenes in the first few episodes, there were way more aliens than there were at the end. I don't think there were any. But who knows? That's the Imperials are pretty maybe they human supremacists.
Yeah,
got out of Dodge.
And maybe that's part of their presence. They were just made to feel not welcome. Maybe that's like a subtle thing that happened there since they began their occupation.
We talked about it last week. How like it seems that the aliens get taken to like mines and slave camps, like we see in Solo. The brute force stuff. And it seems like the prisoners at least get fed and like whatnot, right? So it's a little bit different. But at the same time, like if I'm thinking about like allegories and whatnot, Ferrix is kind of like a coal mining town where it's, they're an industrial town. They're like, I don't know whether they're going to have the aliens there. They've been around for a long time. They're very, like, isolated, and they serve the purpose of the Empire as, like, one very specific niche. I don't know. But there was a guy who looked like, and for some reason, I remember this guy's name, Garinden. I looked him up. Is
that the one alien extra that was, like...
That has this mask?
Really eating it up into, like... every scene, like hamming it up in the background.
The guy with the snout mask?
Maybe.
That's who I'm talking about. But there's a guy in A New Hope called Garinden. And it says he's a long-snooted Kubaz. So I'm sure it's the same species, but on Ferrix. He gets beaten, I think, in this riot scene. He's part of the riot.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah. I'm just delighted I learned the word snooted. Long snooted? Is that?
That's what it says. Garinden, also called long snoot, was a Kubaz.
Love it.
So I don't.
His snout is short and his snoot is long.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Something that
I just love how it's not a word, but we all know exactly. Oh yeah, it's a snoot.
Yeah,
snoot. Star Wars loves to do that. Take a word that we kind of like already know, and then kind of a jizz band.
Star Wars, a jizz band.
A jizz band. By the way, I just wanted to make this joke. When I see the flutes, then I think about Lizzo, but then I think about Star Wars music. Would she be called Jizzo?
Just asking the real
We're supposed
questions.
to laugh. I'm sorry. That's very clever.
Thank you. I will wait here as long as it takes to get that laugh. Thank you.
I saw a TikTok of someone that was like a band teacher that was doing Star Wars music. And they were like, I don't know why I told them what it was called. I know I shouldn't have done it, but I told this group of high schoolers what it was called. No. I don't know. It just came out of my mouth.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's music.
Yeah. Next season's supposed to be every 3 episodes we get a year further. So, in other words, a time jump after every 3 episodes. That's what I've heard. I foresee a big time jump after this episode. Then, because this is 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. Then we'll get 4 years after the Battle of Yavin, 3 years after the Battle, or before, sorry. 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. That's 12 episodes. And all I can see is that I think the guy in Rogue One that he kills will probably be a character in this show. I think they're gonna make us like him, and then he's going to kill him in Rogue One because they knew each other, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the guy I can't climb because of my arm at the very beginning. That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they brought Melshi in, right?
Yeah.
I look forward to meeting K2SO.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if B2 Emo and K2SO are on the screen at the same time. My heart may explode. I don't know if I can handle that.
Right.
I've said this, but you guys all remember when the show was announced at whatever that was, D23 2019, and the two people that came out were Diego and Alan Tudyk. Like the way they kind of sold, like this is, I think, my impression of it,
Like a buddy cop.
I wasn't in the room, but watching the panel later, this is going to be like a buddy cop spy show. I'm like, this is going to be great. And not only was K2 not in it, there would be no place for K2 in it.
Yeah.
It just makes me curious where. And then I think Tudyk was doing his show on Sci-Fi, The Resident Alien. So I and I think interview that he was just like, yeah, no, maybe season 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
It always makes me curious where the story started for an idea, or if they had an idea. And then once they started writing, they're like, well, wait a minute, this might be more interesting.
Yeah, like because of K2's personality, I'm interested in how he fits in. If it'll be, this is weird, but like kind of like a tonal shift, like how much the tone will shift with the time jumps. Because I'm assuming that if we do a big time jump before the first episode of season 2, like we're going to have Cassian and Luthen like gelling, like they are going to be working together fairly well. Like it will be an established like partnership, relationship, operative type thing. I don't know. I'm just excited. I'm so sad that, I think it started filming like this week or something for season 2.
That's what they was like any day now or this week or something.
Diego Luna is so underrated as an actor, even on his own show, where it's like just the little moments that you have with Cassian are so good. Like him when they're like, you're not coming. And then Bix goes, he'll find us. And then Cassian goes, I will.
Right.
I'll find you. And I was like, I talked to my students the other day about foreshadowing, about how like anytime a character says like, I'll tell you about it when I get back, like they're dead. Like they're either dead or they're never going to see each other again.
They're never going to see each other again. You can spot it a mile away.
Him earnestly looking into her eyes and saying, I will find you. I was like, you're never going to see her again, Cassian. I was like, but that's what we thought last time.
Well, listen, everyone who's on Rogue One is not going to make it through the second season. Yeah. That's
the idea. So for me, it was when Cassian last sees Bix before this, she has an absolute scorcher where he says, forget about me or something like, pretend, you don't know me, like forget about me. And she says, I've done it before. And I was like, oh, and then for her here to say like, he'll find us. Like I have faith that he'll find us broke me. Yeah. And Bix humming the song through the bars, Bix listening to it through the bars and then like not wanting to leave at first because they'll get mad. Like the way they broke Bix down. I think she's such a strong character, and how badly broken down she was shows how horrible that shit they did to her must have been. It was just heartbreaking.
Right, but it also shows because it killed the other guy how strong she is, that it didn't kill her. Right?
Didn't they hang him?
Oh,
because he was all giddy to hang him. So they
that's
left,
right. Like, what should I do with him? And she says, I don't care. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to hang him. She's like, cool. I really just don't care.
They left him in there looking terrible so that she would see how terrible he looked. And then, he was like, it's going to hang him. And I was like, that's disgusting. Yeah. So
what the Empire and Ferrex chooses to be brutal about is so random. Like, so they hang him, the guy who did kind of nothing, nothing, but like he had the radio and whatever. But then they start rioting and they don't bust blasters out until like the riot gets to like 6 levels. I'm like, they're not using deadly force yet. I'm sort of surprised. Oh yeah, they try not to kill Cassian. They want to take him alive because Deidre was really upset, like really forceful about that. But the Empire I know was like started just blasting left and right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The one guy got on a turret.
Are successfully hitting people.
The one stormtrooper on a turret, like.
Yeah, just going for it.
Was just like, oh shit. I feel like rewatching this whole series from start to finish again because there's so much.
I do feel like Deidre is gonna have a bit of a fall that's gonna necessitate. I feel like Cassian, dear God, I'm sorry, Cassian. Cyril is not on her level, but after this, when she was like, no snipers, this is probably in the chat just reminded me, but like, no snipers, don't do any snipers, and then this breaks out. Like, if there were snipers, would this have happened? Type of thing. Like, I think everyone's report from Ferrix is terrible. You know, she's gonna go down for Ferrix the same way that Cyril went down for Ferrix.
Yes.
Now they're in the exact same situation.
Oof. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to expect from this next season. Season 2 started filming a couple days ago, and then it's supposed to finish filming in August 2023.
Whoa.
That's a long time.
Shoot.
That's
Whoa.
Yeah. That's what it says. Probably because each 3 episodes is a whole new place.
Right, and it's 12 hours of content. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, movies too. This is 12.
I know.
So.
I had that reaction. I was like, I don't know how long it takes to shoot things. I've never been on a TV set. But I was like, that seems like a long time.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it always, like, when they say, oh, this movie started like 3 weeks ago and they finished filming, I'm like, I'm a bit skeptical of that movie. Like, they spent 3 weeks filming? Okay, all right. Normally, I would think it would take longer, but Andor seems to be taking a long time. So, okay.
And do you know when it's supposed to come out?
I don't know.
I think they just said 2024, but didn't give any details.
That'll be less than 2 years because we're at the tail end of 2022, right?
Right. So even if it's December 2024, it'll still be.
That'll be 2 years.
2 years.
But yeah. I'm gonna hate having to wait, but we will.
Yeah.
Remember when we were waiting between Mandalorian seasons, season 1 and season 2? How long?
We had
was
a whole
that?
pandemic though and stuff. So
yeah, there was a couple other things going on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Karen's Nerdy Creation says House of the Dragon is a 2-year wait too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Westworld had like a 2-year gap in between.
Yes.
Seasons 1 and 2? Was that what it was?
I was like, it was 2, and that was almost 2 for the third one as well. Because that first season was 2016, and here we are in 2022, and they just did their 4th season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 6 years from once. Yeah.
Yeah.
These big, complicated, expensive shows. It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm happy we got this.
Oh, yeah.
After 12 episodes, after 1 season, I am. Yeah, this is my Star Wars. I grew up with the like Tales of the Bounty Hunters, Tales from Jabba's Palace, you know, kind of like anthology books where I'm learning about every random face that's in like that never got a backstory gets a backstory in those like old books. That's
so
my Star
after the first season of Andor, is this your favorite Star Wars show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my favorite show of the year. I can't think of I can't think of a show.
I mean, there's other show. I really like She-Hulk, but it's so different. I remember people were saying, why are they showing She-Hulk at the same time as Andor? That's just weird. They don't do that. They don't show them both at once. And then when they both were going at the same time, it's like, oh, you couldn't have 2 more different shows.
Right.
They can go at the same time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Except for Dimithri, who had to do 2 after shows for shows at the same time, seemed like one at 1 a.m. and 1:10 p.m.
Not only these 2, Obi-Wan and Miss Marvel overlapped.
Oh, yeah.
That was a screw you to Miss Marvel, and that sucked.
It's so strange, too, because in, like, July had nothing. Like, what? This spacing doesn't make sense to me. Like, they were doing it for so long. You always had something. It used to be Fridays, right? Starting with WandaVision. There's always something Friday, blah, blah, blah. It was seamless, and they moved it to Thursday, whatever. But it was like one ended, the next one began. And then they doubled them up, but then had July was absolutely nothing whatsoever. It was strange. Yeah. But we're so spoiled, though, too. Especially all the news about Iger and taking over and could things change, blah, 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 blah. Like, we are so spoiled. We've gotten so much good storytelling that if they dialed it back, it'd be like, well, but wait, why? But, like, we didn't have this before. You had to wait 2 years between movies. And we have these episodic television shows. It's been great.
Yeah.
It's hard to compare this one to the other. I suddenly feel like, oh, I love The Mandalorian, but in such a different way too, you know? It's almost like that meme, like, Dave and John are making stories about the action figures they play with his kids, and Tony Gilroy's making a show about fascism. It's not,
Right.
it's not even the same kind of thing. So I think it's my favorite, but I love The Mandalorian too, but in a very different way.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with that meme, but like on a wholesome level, like, and I like action figures.
Yeah.
I feel like it's shared derogatorily, and it's like, yeah, I sometimes I want to watch something while I'm doing a cross stitch.
Exactly.
And, I wouldn't watch Andor while I'm doing a cross stitch.
No, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's my point exactly, is it's like, I feel bad, like, okay, of all the Star Wars Disney shows, of all the Star Wars television shows, I should say, is Andor my favorite? Yes, but I feel that it's just strange to compare this one with some of the others, because they're just so, to your point, Sarah, so different. Yeah. I feel like I almost say I have more than one favorite.
Right. It's like, do you like pumpkin pie or chocolate cake? And you're like, well, that's two completely different desserts.
I'm gonna eat them both.
Exactly.
Though.
Like them both. Yeah.
But if you want to take the chocolate cake and the pumpkin pie, or chocolate pie and pumpkin pie, whatever, after every slice of what I'm eating for Andor, I cannot wait for the next slice.
Yeah.
I can't. And there's a difference. Like, Mandalorian and stuff is cool. It's cameos. It's fun. It's toy box stuff, right? Like, Andor isn't as fun. It's not.
No.
But
there's no jokes.
It hits.
There's no silly jokes in the show at all, really.
Yeah. I feel like there are moments that elicit a chuckle, but yeah, there's no like.
Right.
I saw a meme. Someone one of our friends on Instagram posted a thing that was like, if Andor was a Marvel movie, and it was all like, he's right behind me, isn't he? Like all like the jokes, and I was like, okay, I'll let you have that one.
I mean,
I was like, but there shouldn't be any. I mean, like, because that's the whole thing with K2, where it's like, yeah, if K2 came in, at this point in this season, he'd be too funny.
He wouldn't fit in. It would be like, what show are you from? Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas B2 with his he's adorable, so he's not like serious, but his adorableness adds to the like stakes of the show somehow.
Exactly. It's not comedy. Right.
Yeah. But like Mandalorian, I remember it has funny parts, right? Like Mandalorian's the type of one where a huge alien in a bar could be like, "You talking to me?" And he like looks up. Like, I don't know, Mandalorian has lighter moments.
I feel
that's my line. It's not like ha joke funny, but it has those moments where, and then even Grogu is cute as a means to be cute. Unlike, to your point exactly, Sarah, he's cute because it makes you sad that Marv is dying and that Marv is gone and that he now misses Cassian. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's not as, whereas sometimes Grogu has those emotions too, but he also has, I'm just cute for the sake of being cute, which obviously we all love too.
Yeah, we all love.
Chocolate cake and, pumpkin pie.
Yeah. Was it chocolate cake and pumpkin pie or chocolate pie and pumpkin pie?
I said chocolate cake and pumpkin pie.
Two completely different desserts.
Things that I love very much.
Right. But a good pumpkin pie though.
But I only have a tattoo of pumpkin pie. I don't have a tattoo of chocolate cake.
Are we still...
Much like I have a tattoo of the Mandalorian, but not Andor. Yes, I have a tattoo of pumpkin pie on my leg.
Wait, is Andor the pumpkin pie or the chocolate cake? Because I feel like Mandalorian's the chocolate cake and Andor's the pumpkin pie.
But it depends on what you like better, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Let us know out there. Everyone out there, let us know which one's the chocolate cake and which one's the pumpkin pie.
I feel like Mandalorian is the chocolate cake and Andor is the pumpkin pie, because pumpkin pie, first of all, Costco pumpkin pie is the best pumpkin pie in the world. And I feel like I only get it on special occasions, right? I'm only going to get these 2 seasons of Andor. It's a real event that I get to have pumpkin pie. I only get it during the 1 season. So I love it very dearly and I savor it when I get it. Whereas any birthday party I go to, I might get chocolate cake.
Right. For my birthday, I don't want pumpkin pie for my birthday. I'm not going to take a date out for like a dinner and then get pumpkin pie.
Mr. Plow in the chat just said no one is ride or die for pumpkin pie.
Mr. Plow just wanted the rhyme. How dare you?
I have a pumpkin pie a sizable pumpkin pie tattoo.
Mr. Plow is starting wars out there.
I'll show it. I'm wearing shorts.
If it's acceptable for Twitch, then okay.
Hold on.
That's why this analogy depends on how you view the dessert.
No,
Right.
You know.
Well, I just view chocolate as like mainstream accessible, right? Like
Exactly.
Oh, here you go.
Right. Oh, that's like.
Oh, that's adorable.
What?
Look at the fall leaves.
Yeah, it's got fall. It's got the.
Why does it look like a character from Sushi Go?
It's just cute.
It's yeah. You put a face on a pumpkin pie.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I think like chocolate cake. Anyway, whatever. That's all, you know. But like, yes, I like all the Star Wars shows, and I like, you know, Miss Marvel and like the different Marvel shows that came out this year, and I like all that other stuff. But Andor is my #1 show of the year.
It's the best written. It's the best storytelling for sure, I think.
Yeah, when we do a best of 2022 episode, at the end of the year, like Andor's gonna be my #1.
Yeah.
You know, I want to thank you both so much for coming on this show and taking time out of your night or your morning, in Jen's case.
Wow, it's 3 a.m.
Damn. And we've
I know,
gone
we talked a
overtime.
long time.
We talked a long time. I mean, it's a season finale. It is what it is.
Well, we're talking about the season finale and then the whole show, and like there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you were here, Jen, to talk about it with us. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so delighted you asked. I'm glad I can make it. It was an honor.
The honor is ours.
You guys are great. Like, you didn't even need me. I'm like, you
No,
guys are just great. It's so many good thoughts.
You? I got so excited when I found out you were going to be on the show. I was like, oh, it's Jen. It's my friend Jen.
No, Sarah. I love it. You guys are great. Anytime. I mean, Mandalorian season 2 around the corner. 3. Oh my gosh. 3 in the morning, getting a little punchy, but yeah.
Mandalorian season 3. Yeah, because I mean we do these for the Star Wars shows and the Marvel shows, so
I can't wait to see what obscure tiny change they make in his costume that necessitates a whole new revamp of the costume. Like they changed his one thigh in the.
They changed the thigh and added a knee for season 2. Mm-hmm. And I thought season 3 though, I haven't picked apart the trailer like I'm sure some have. I don't think they changed anything, but I'm sure there's something.
Is it changed in the Boba Fett episodes that he's in?
No.
Okay.
All I know is there's a tiny Mandalorian helmet. And I don't know if it's a flashback or if that's for Grogu, but if it's for Grogu, Evie's gonna have something real new and shiny to wear, and I can't wait.
And Bo's outfit looks the same. Bo's armor, from what I recall in the trailer, I was peeking that, having made that too. I'm like, yeah, it looks the same. But that would make canonical sense that wouldn't change. Whereas you feel like Jen, he's like tinkering, he's got a new piece, he's shopping, whatever. But like Night Owls, they're like, this is what I do.
Yeah, we figured out our outfit.
Right, this is my look.
Yeah.
Speaking of outfits, I want to put together like a real cool rebel kind of outfit and make an original character for a tabletop RPG.
And
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Jen, at the very top of the episode, you said that all Jedi cloaks kind of look the same, but as someone, I'm not sewing's not my strong suit, but I did sew Obi-Wan's from the Obi-Wan show, and it is needlessly complicated. It's like the sleeve for some reason has a little flap thing where half the sleeve cuts, and then the fronts are like these little like wavy things. And I'm like, why did you? It is so much fabric. It's terrible.
It's like fabric origami sometimes with these costumes. It's amazing.
There's also that like third thing I'd ever sewn from scratch. So there was also that.
That's awesome.
You both are doing great work. Both of you should keep it up. I'll leave that to you guys.
Well, now I will.
Yeah. You're like, I was going to
quit. Yeah, I was going to pack it up.
Jen, where can we find you online? What's your social media? You got anything coming up?
So my social media, Jen Markham, all one word, JenMarkham on TikTok and YouTube. And on Instagram, there's an underscore between the Jen and the Markham. So, but TikTok and YouTube are my main kind of things. And Instagram is for fun and friends, kind of. But follow me everywhere if you'd like. I think probably everyone in the chat is already following me. So it's okay.
If they are,
what do I have coming up? I'm working on Mighty Thor.
Like a Mighty Thor costume?
Yeah.
With the
I
helmet?
started over the summer, and then I had to kind of put on pause for some other projects, which was exciting. And then I'm back to it, and yeah.
All right.
Making videos, having fun,
I'm excited. I feel like everybody, and myself included, like we got into your stuff through Star Wars related stuff. But like you're doing Thor too, which is awesome.
It's actually the first Marvel costume I've made for me. I've bought a few, and I made my husband's Doctor Strange, but I've never made a Marvel costume for me. I make all my Star Wars stuff. So this was a fun thing. And I bought a foam armor kit. So it was kind of like just to paint it and glue it and relax kind of project. So I was really enjoying doing it. I had to put some things on hold because I got to do a couple like jobs, and I was just busy with that. So now that's it just kind of ebbs and flows of what's going. So I'm back to it, and I actually only have like the boots and the helmet and the hammer to do. So everything else is done.
All right.
So,
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Sarah, you were my co-host for 12 episodes.
It's been a delight.
It's been awesome. You also take needfully, whatever. It's much needed notes.
Thank you.
And I remember because when we used to do the WandaVision after show, I used to write notes during WandaVision, and then I stopped at a certain point for some of these other shows. But Sarah, I'm glad that you've been here. You've been doing a great job. Thank you so much for all this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Ms_Marauder. We just finished up 2 back-to-back weekends of anime conventions. So we got some cosplay content coming from that. We did some photo shoots. So Evie will have some nice professional photos of her cosplays that I built. She got all signed up for the Kites cosplay competition and then broke one of her props 5 minutes before it started. And then violently sobbed for about an hour.
Oh
and
no.
did not get to do the competition. But every cosplayer in the building was like coming over to her being like, I break my props all the time.
All the time.
There was just nothing to be done. She was too upset. But she does have some amazing photos because it lasted the whole day until it broke.
Is that the one where the big cosplayer, the big ringer was going to come in and there's like a big kid cosplayer?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one.
For some reason, I'm envisioning Jacob Tremblay. So.
No, it's Logan.
I know, with a name like Logan, Jacob Tremblay.
Yeah. He was one of the judges for the cosplay competition, which was hilarious and adorable. But yeah, one of our friends won, so we were happy for them.
That's great.
But yeah, she was so mad at herself. And I was like, the first time I ever wore a Spider-Man suit, I broke the zipper the morning of the con. So I was like, don't worry. Yeah, so we got that. And then we've got LA Comic-Con coming up in a week and a half. So
awesome.
We'll be there.
Awesome. I once made armor for a Star Wars related costume. And then when I got to San Diego, I didn't account for the weight of the armor on the straps. So it just popped right. I made it and took it with me. And then I put it on the day of, and it just fell apart. And I was like, I should have put more thought into it. So, fair. Always account for the weight.
I did glue it together with wig tape. I had like wig tape in my bag.
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah, I get it.
But it happens to everybody at every level. Things break and fall apart. We're way harder on our costumes at conventions than they are shooting things. Like they put it on for like 30 minutes and then that's it. Like we wear ours for years in the conventions and on concrete floors. Like
yeah, it was her first time cosplaying with an outfit that had like significant props, like significant armor on it. So I think she was I think she thought I was like mad about it, and I was like, I super glue it. I can put it back together. Like it's not gonna be a big deal. But,
yeah,
she's got some big emotions. I was like, I've been to therapy. She hasn't been to therapy yet. I get it.
I look forward to more Evie stuff. And more like both of you doing like the duo cosplays and stuff. That's always fun.
Yeah, I'm always looking for reluctant dads that I can cosplay. That's my go-to.
Do Luthen and Andor.
Do Luthen and Andor. Yeah, I don't know if
Evie as a little Andor.
Just like mercilessly shooting people with a blaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are always open to cosplay suggestions. We go for, I used to ask for mother-daughter, but now I ask for reluctant father figure. Because that's literally all that we do now.
Why don't you do like one of the Bad Batch and Omega?
Because I haven't watched the Bad Batch.
Oh.
Don't tell anyone.
All right.
It's not my era. Clones are not my era. I'm not a clone gal.
That's fair.
Never have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we do Obi-Wan and Leia. So.
Yeah.
I'll probably do that. I'll probably do that for LA Comic-Con. So I'm so sorry. I keep talking. It is midnight.
For Jen, it's so
For
much.
Jen,
It's so
3
late.
in the morning.
Thank you everybody out there for watching. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on Twitch or YouTube at twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. If you are listening to the podcast after the fact, you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher now. We're on Stitcher. If you got an Instagram or a TikTok, follow us at The Keeg Show. You can pretty much find us anywhere at The Keeg Show or /The Keeg Show. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. We're also technically on Hive. That's a new thing. We'll see how Hive works.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to contribute back to The Keeg, you can go to patreon.com/The Keeg Show and find a subscription tier that works for you. Any of that stuff kind of goes to, what we got going on here at The Keeg behind the scenes and all that good stuff. This is the end of the Andor after show, but we have The Keeg Talks every single weekend. So like this weekend, we are doing the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. And then after that, I think we're talking Pokemon. I think that's next week. Anyway, point being is, we always got something going on. So figure it out at The Keeg Show on Instagram and TikTok. Find us. We got the schedule up there. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. I didn't shout out Ninez Rodriguez on YouTube, but shout out Karen's Nerdy Creations, Mr. Plow, Darth Chaco, over here on Twitch. Thank you everybody so much for being a part of this. Once again, I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been the Andor After Show, talking about episode 12 of season 1 finale. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.